everyone, and welcome back to the Grateful Not Greedy podcast. My name is Kris, and I am here with my lovely co-host, and her name is
Rachel. Hi, everybody.
Rachel. So today, Rach, I want to talk about something a little funny, and I think a lot of our tribe will relate to this because we are busy householders. So there is a lot that goes on all the time, and then you come into a stretch of, say, going back to school or working on your PhD thesis. I don't know what you have going on, but now it's holidays. So this morning, I I thought, I have been a little behind for Halloween, and I have this I have this approach that I've developed of making my holidays pretty stress-free. So, I think if we can kind of start talking about some of our approaches in the grateful, not greedy context, how do we handle this? How do we make it so that we're not the crazy one?
Mhm.
Speaking from experience, you know what I mean? I'm sure everyone is like,
Yeah.
yeah, because how many times are you sitting there in the kitchen doing Thanksgiving and no one's helping, right? So it's stuff like that that I think we really could flesh out. So I'll just start by saying one of the little things that I have, one of the little habits I have that has worked really well for me, and especially having 4 children, and they used to be really young. So I had a lot of stuff. So I started developing this habit. In September, it was time to pick your Halloween costume. Like after Labor Day, like right after Labor Day, it's time to pick your Halloween costume. We're going online, we're going to the store, whatever you want to do, and we're picking your Halloween costume. Fine. We pick them, we get them, try them all on. That was done. Check. And then, come Halloween, then I have a box that I use, which is comes in very handy, right? So I have one small box that I use for my indoor decorations and one tree bag. Do you know what a tree bag is? Like if you get a
Yeah.
Christmas tree or whatever,
Yeah.
you throw, right? So it's a storage bag like that. Because the outdoor decorations are kind of cumbersome, they're not as easy to throw in a box. So I have a bag and I literally just throw them in the bag. I don't even like sort them. I don't put anything around them. And then remember, it's Halloween, right? So it's spooky and dirt and everything. And who cares? They literally just go in there. So it has worked insanely well for me because I can't really deal with mess very well because my house is already a critical, massive mess for me. Like my personal threshold is already met on the day-to-day basis. So when you said like, let's have a party or let's decorate, I'm like, right. I get a little bit of a panic. So what I like to do is take my little box. I literally take it. I call it, Halloween in box. So I take it like the the night before Halloween. I do this for my kids' birthdays too. So the night before Halloween, I take out that box, I go in the attic, take it down. I put down my it takes me about 10 minutes. I put down my stuff on the table. That's decorated. Done. And then either the weekend before or even like the day of Halloween, I don't really care. I will take out all my Halloween bag and I'll throw that stuff around the yard really quick. I don't need anyone to help me. I have my son helped me get the stuff out from the attic, I should say, but I mean, I could conceivably do it myself. And I just get it done. So I have things like that. I have the same routine that I use for my kids for their Christmas cards. We take our picture the day before Thanksgiving every year, forever. There's just these habits that I developed that have really helped, I think, in the grateful, not greedy process. Because
Mhm.
again, from our conversation before, it's B plus. This is the B plus work, right? It's B plus, B plus, B plus all day long. I'm B plusing all day long. So I figured out ways to do that. And maybe you can reflect too, because your experience is very different in your life, maybe the way you work too. You have a flexible work schedule. You also have a
Yeah.
child. So there's a lot that goes on. But and we can reflect too, because we all have friends and we all hear the stories and we all have moms. And I think you and I might have had a similar mom that kind of like does a lot. And sometimes that was met with stress. So let's kind of reflect on that a little bit. I think it'd be helpful for all of us just to kind of stay sane as we enter a holiday time of what is grateful, not greedy holiday version.
Yeah. And that's a really, the framework definitely applies to the season that's coming up. And we are at today, like the stepping into Halloween. This is like the beginning. It's like the cusp
Yeah.
of it. And I think the piece that I really lean into, or I have been leaning into, is I was doing things based on patterns and things I did before and building up. And to your point, we both had, like, my son was quite a bit younger and Halloween was a bigger deal and now it's shifting, right? And so
Right. Yeah.
I stopped myself and I'm like, am I doing this because I've done it every year before? And is it still what I want to do and what he wants, and does it match, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so
Such a good
it's
point.
not
Yeah.
just doing it for the sake of tradition and repetition, because this is what we do on Thanksgiving, and this is what we do on Christmas, and this is what we do in Hanukkah, and this is what and it's like, why am I doing this? What does it represent? Do I still want to do it?
Yeah.
Have I just layered on every year and made it to something big, which I think commonly happens this time of
Commonly
year?
happens. I think, yeah,
It
that's a really
becomes
good
like
observation. Yeah.
it becomes this swirl. And I love the idea
Hmm.
of like, okay, it's in a box. I have a couple of those. Like I have a box that represents that, like, Halloween. I have a box that's like for Hanukkah, and it's like
Yeah.
I do have those, and I love to just be able to open it and it's all in there and I don't have to worry about anything and it's plenty, it's enough. I don't need to add to it. It's fine. I love that idea. But then the stopping and thinking of the swirl of it, is it still am I doing this out of just sheer repetition and habit and pattern, or is this really what I want for this holiday, this event, this thing? And is that what the people that are joining also want?
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, you make a really good point on multiple things. The is what I want and the box. So I think I don't know. I think as busy household people, it's really easy to forget what you want because for so much of your life, it's not about you per se, right? Yes, I think some people are quote unquote better at this because they just have a different personality that allows them to be a little more fulfilling of their own needs, I guess, in that way. But
Mhm.
is it what you want? And then the box. So let's talk about that within that really quick framework. So what you were saying earlier is how quickly it happens that the box becomes a box and a half. The box becomes a box, 2 boxes.
Yeah.
Now it's 2
Yeah.
boxes and a hefty bag. Now it's 2 boxes, a hefty bag, and, like, I don't really wanna say this is a box, so it's just like a reusable bag with, like, one little thing in it. Just it's one little thing. And now it's a box and a hefty bag and that
Yeah.
one little thing, and then you're like, "Screw it, I really just need another box." So now it's 3 boxes, but you still have the hefty bag, you still have the reusable bag, you still have this, and you still have this one little thing that you don't really know what to do with. So that's kind of been my experience of life, and I have had to kind of even in the Halloween swirl, I literally took my tree bag of crap and I was like, do I really need this to your point, like, do I really need this little decoration that my daughter bought when she was in, like, 8th grade? And she's like, "It's so cute, mom, let's get it from Rite Aid or whatever." And I was like, "That sounds great," and then it sits there and it's becomes the Halloween in the bag, and I'm like, "I don't really need that in my Halloween in a bag. I don't need that for my happiness, like, that's not supporting me." Kids certainly don't need it. They're not even here. They don't even care what's here. It's honestly for, like, the 3 kids that are gonna come by my house for Halloween. So, I think there's, like, so many layers in here, right? Because it is also um, being judicious about your time. How do you wanna spend your time? Is it joyful? Like, for me to decorate for an hour, it's so fun because I know it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. In the beginning, I get down that attic box and I'm like, "Oh, here's my box to the attic." And I do it at the very end of for one day, also because then even that box, I can leave it in the kitchen. I put all my little table decorations on, I leave that box in the kitchen. The next day comes, there's the holiday, yay! The next day comes, I'm scooping all that stuff up, I'm putting it in the box, and I'm putting it back up in the attic, right? So that to me is super joyful. Now, fast forward, Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving is a little bit different because, like I said, I do have that tradition, which I'm just gonna disclose this so that everyone can judge me, however you want, because
No judgment.
people who know me and love me know this about me. For years, years and years, I think I have options when it comes to photographers. Let's just say that. I feel like I have options when it comes to taking having pictures taken of my kids. However, I have chosen, since my kids were babies, to go every year the day before Thanksgiving, not Wednesday, because it's not busy. Now everyone's going to go. Now it's going to be busy, but it's not generally busy that day. And I have already bought my kids clothes because I've already gone, I've done that before because I can't deal with that, later, be thinking about what am I going to do for the holiday photo. And I've already bought their clothes. I've already done all that. And then we show up on that Wednesday before Thanksgiving. We go to J.C. Penney's. We used to go to Sears, but they're closed. So we can't go to Sears anymore. So we go to J.C. Penney's. You get that picture taken. And they were good sports about it when they were kids. And then, they get the like 8th grade years, and then they're kinda like, but now it's funny. Like, now it's just everyone has a great time with it. It's hilarious, we just, like, go like, half the time the crop is, like, Bo's head will be cut off or something, it's just like, someone's hair is just, like, missing on the side or, there's not quite enough room for all of them. I do not care. B plus, B plus, B plus, B plus, because what that allows me to do is get the digital photos that I need, and we do all this cropping, everything right there. And I always have one of the kids help me because I'm like, let's just do this so we can get it done. We go to Johnny Rockets. It's the same every year. And so to your point, like that's a tradition, but that is something now that we all enjoy. Like it's
Yes.
fun, it's funny, it does not take a lot of time. I do not do this big long thing where we're driving to the park an hour away and we're meeting the
Yeah.
photographer and the kids all have to look exactly correct and there's no food and no, it's like there's none of that. Like we'll do a little holiday shopping after, we go to Johnny Rockets, like whatever they want to do. Now they're older, but even when they were younger, it's just really fun. So I think that that is really important, and I'm saying that because that, for me, has sets the stage for Thanksgiving, right? So that now I've accomplished some amazing I'm already ahead of the game. I feel so great when that's done. I'm like, "Yes, fantastic." And now I still have to go and make all Thanksgiving because that's that night, don't forget. Still have a lot of work to do, that night. But, I mean, you could kind of
You're
reflect on that, reflect on some of because that is a tradition, but it is a tradition that allows it to be super easy for me. And even, like, Thanksgiving, like, I shop Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I am grateful, grateful, grateful because I front load all that because I know I'm not good at stress. I'm not good at, like for that kinda stuff. I'm not good at that late time stress, and why do I need that? I love prepping before because then I can enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, give me some of your thoughts of, like, how do you approach it? What works for you?
Sure.
And, definitely staying in the grateful space because I'm so grateful to spend that time with my kids. You have no idea. I mean, it's like it has always been fun. They've always done great with it. They've always been good sports, but now especially that they're older. There's one year that we missed it. We missed that photo, and it was only because we were all out together somewhere else. So even in missing that, that photo time, we were all doing something else together. So I
Mm.
grateful,
Cool.
grateful, grateful for sure. Yeah. Not greedy that I
And I
don't
think
have
that there's
my pictures are not you'll see them. Everyone sees them on my holiday cards. They're not professional quality. They're taken with some, random now they're digital, used to be like 35 millimeter, but they're
yeah.
pictures. No one cares.
Yeah,
Nobody
they are.
cares.
They're
No.
and they're like a
Yeah.
snapshot in time, like, I look forward to seeing them every year, I do, and
Thank you, Rachel.
so is Dax, like, he's always like, "Oh, what's the picture?" It's kind of like our anticipation, right? And those traditions, beautiful, like, I love that, like, there are some traditions that I'm not saying, "Oh, you should look at every tradition and throw it out," like, you should look at it and still see if it applies, like, still see if it brings you joy, still see if it fills your cup, like, all of those things, and I feel like there's a place for that, like, for Thanksgiving for me, my tradition, and it has been my tradition for, oh, probably 12 years, I'm thinking, maybe it's gotta be longer now, um, I teach, a Thanks and Giving yoga class on Thanksgiving
Oh,
morning, and the
so great.
proceeds
Yeah.
from that class go to our local food bank, and I love starting my day with that. It doesn't matter if I used to have, like, 18, 20 people here for Thanksgiving dinner, it didn't matter, I still got up, taught class, and came home, and it put me in the right headspace, it filled my cup of, like, what Thanksgiving also represents to me, it
Yes,
served my
that's a good point.
community, like, I got to
Mhm.
get together with my yoga community, and I got to do something really good for the community, like, my town that I live in, and that I is a tradition I love, and I continue, and
Yeah,
that brings me a lot of joy. In order to do that, without walking into that class stressed, I have to be
totally.
prepped.
I'm totally thinking about
I
that. I'm like, "Oh my
have
gosh,"
to
Yeah.
be prepared, and so what my tradition is I am shopped by the weekend before.
Yeah, me too.
And I start cooking on Monday or Tuesday, and usually one of those, usually Monday. And I have a rhythm of what I can make in advance, what I can freeze, what I can like prep, what I can do, all that. So then come Thanksgiving Day, it's very little like last minute things. And I also, for a long time, I used to host it here. Then I used to go up to my friend's farm and host it and go up there. And then I'm doing it back here now. And I also believe in like I do it with community, like with friends and family around, and I do it potluck. So that also makes like, and not
Oh,
potluck, we assign it, right?
yeah.
But
Assigned to luck.
assign luck, yeah. And it works out great. Like, so it's not all me, but the things that are important to me to have there, or the things that are important to my son to have there, or whatever, like to represent that day, I make sure I make. And then the other stuff is just like gravy, right? Which is very appropriate for that holiday.
Gravy. The
Gravy.
grateful
And
gravy. Yeah.
the grateful gravy. And so I've curated it because I knew I didn't want it to be stressful. Like, I don't want one of those stressful meals where I'm stressing about the food and the timing and getting it right and getting it perfect.
Can
It's
I just
always
ask, did you grow up with any stress? Did you grow up with like thanks? Because I did. I grew up with a little bit of Thanksgiving stress.
You know what? No, I didn't. I grew up, and this is where this is, two sides of a coin here. You grew up with
Yes.
Thanksgiving stress. I grew up with like Thanksgiving was a beautiful holiday, and my mom is really good at entertaining and cooking, and so she
Uh-huh.
made it look like no big deal.
Mm.
And it was all her. And
That
I'm
is
like,
massively the other side of the coin. Yeah, because it
totally.
is a big deal. Even though they're all
And
very easy dishes to make, it's a big deal. Yeah, it takes a
it
lot. It
is.
takes time.
And
Yeah.
we both take on a load from each of those experiences, right? We
Yes.
both
Yes.
take on
Totally.
pieces of that. So it's not saying it's wrong, but like you came out of the stress, I came out of this is totally doable. And we host everybody here and I got it
Right.
all. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah.
and I think,
That's so important just to pause on that messaging because, if we can reflect on some of your early, childhood kind of experiences around Thanksgiving and, mine even has like some loaded of family dynamics and, different people who were there or weren't there on any given year, many years not there. I think that probably flavored the whole stress. And just to reflect on that, in thinking about it now, that was, trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. That was a
um,
holiday that needed a modification in my estimation,
mhm,
now looking at it as an adult. Needed a modification, needed some freedom for my parents to have it, a way that wasn't Norman Rockwell. We needed another version that would have been, really welcome and executable in that way, and I wasn't any great cook in high school. I made Rice Krispie treats and cookies, and I baked a lot. Like, that's what I knew how to do. I was certainly couldn't really help, Brian anything. So, yeah, so just reflecting on that because it's important to I think for all of us to look, if you have experiences and like your experience, you can speak to it for sure. And I know your mom, so I know it looks so easy. It looks so easy. She looks like a freaking, pro basketball player, shooting a layup. You're just like, oh, this is like not even anything. I won't even think about it. But it is important to see like what are you bringing in there, and then to be super proactive. And I'm actually even this conversation, I'm going to work on that even this year. To your point, like what do I want? What about this piece is awesome that I want to keep, and what about this piece there's no requirement for stress. There's no requirement. So that's a perspective thing, right? So if I'm stressed or if I'm overwhelmed or if I'm this or that, to your point, I can ask for help or I can reduce the amount of work that I'm doing or I can look at it differently. I can order in some things. I order in my pies. I don't make my pies. I used to. I don't do that anymore. That's just not available.
yep.
I will make an apple pie on my own 2 weeks later and really enjoy it. I will not enjoy making my apple pie at Thanksgiving, I can tell you that. So, yeah, I mean, just to pause on that, you can reflect on that or not, but I think it's important to just kind of remember where all these inputs are coming and then consciously choose your own input. Consciously choose
Yes.
what you want to create.
Well, and I think, this year is significant for me, because, I'm divorced and it's now at the point where I'm like, okay, we're like, my son is not with me for this Thanksgiving, which is the first time. And
Interesting.
I'm
Yeah.
choosing not to do it as a joint thing this year. And
Mhm.
it is like now it's like very intentional for me is what is it I want? Because I have the opportunity to start with a clean slate. I don't have to
Right.
keep, and take a look at it. And it has a very different feeling for me because now I'm like, wow, my son's getting older. He's like going to be away at school in a couple of years. Like we're ticking down on the time. Like now, what do I want to create? How do I want it to feel? Because when he does go to school, he won't be able to come home. It will be way too far away for him.
Right.
Um, 99% chance, right? So now I'm like, what is it I want to create now? So for me, like your point of intentionality, like it is very much present this year in all the decisions I'm making. And not that what I make this year, is going to dictate what I make next year. This year is for me to try and see and then reevaluate when I get to next year and be like,
Yes.
how did that go? What did I like? What did I
That's
not
right.
like? How do I like, do I even, and like the question was like, do I even want to host it? Like, do I want to host here? Do I want to go to a friend's? Like, what is it I want in my life now? And what is appropriate for me and the people around me?
Yeah.
And I still, I have my mom here, so, like, I still have family, and I have dear friends that I consider family and all of those pieces that are important to me, but that intentionality of thinking about, like, what is it like, I'm not making the pie, right? You set that, like, you're like, "That just is not a
That's
good
my
use of my
boundary,
time."
Rach. That's my
And
clear
it's a great
boundary.
one. It's a great one. And so it's like, mine is like, I don't want stress and I'm still teaching my class on Thanksgiving. Like those are
Right.
two givens, right? And then the other pieces are, okay, what else do I want to bring in and what do I want to leave out? And it's been really good for me to slow it down, and I think that's what the key is like, in the swirl of the holidays, it becomes a swirl and things speed up, and when things speed up, we don't
Yes.
take time to think and intentionally make choices. And so I have like really slowed it down to say, what is it I want? What is it I don't? Like take a moment and not just because my first thought is, well, I always go to my friend's house and it's always there. And it's like, why there? Why
Right.
does that,
Right.
does that still need to happen? Like, do I want to do that? Do I enjoy, like, what does it feel like for me every year? And is that ready to let that go? Because now I'm in a different chapter. And so, I mean, my world continues to change significantly over these last handful of years. So it's forced me to be in this place of awareness. And like also the piece about grateful, not greedy, like it's the first Thanksgiving I'm not going to have my son with me for Thanksgiving dinner. And
Right.
it's the
Right.
first one ever. And here's the like, if you said this 4 years ago, I would have just broken down and cried, like just cried my eyes out,
Yes.
thinking, oh my God, I
Yes.
can't even imagine it. Right. This year, I'm like, you know what? It's great. I have him so much. Like we get to spend all these meals together. This is one meal. I'm okay with it. And
Mhm.
and I've had so many, and I know that I'm gonna have I'm gonna see him, we're gonna share meals together. Like it this one meal, it's okay. And that's the grateful, not greedy piece is like I don't wanna be greedy about the holidays, like, and where his time
I
is, where
love
my
that.
time is, like,
Yeah.
I was really clear with that, and you know what? I didn't have that capacity years ago, like, 4 years
Okay.
ago, maybe
Yes.
even 3 years ago. That's a capacity I've
Completely.
developed.
Let's talk about that because that what you gosh, you just hit on like so many things. The like expectations and joy. So the
Mm,
expectations, that's the piece, right? So and that's I think that was my experience where I needed some modification, when I was younger for this Norman Rockwell. That is
mm,
not that is fantasy land. That is not something that exists. If you've created that, good on you. And that's what, you've created it in a way that looks like, just like the painting. I think that's amazing. Fantastic. If
yeah,
that's what you want, you did it great. But to project that onto the rest of us as though that is the standard that we need to meet, that's the expectation. And I love what you
mm,
said about it's one meal. It's whatever we make it. So if
yeah,
you're going to assign more importance to Thanksgiving than you do for your Sunday night dinner, than you do to the ice cream that you can have with your kid after their baseball game, than you do to
mm,
the conversation that you can have in the car with your kid when you're driving for an hour.
very
If you're going to assign more importance to this, figure out what that's about, right? Because what is it about? And maybe, some people have big families, everyone gets together. There's a lot at stake. I don't have the same at stake issues, I think, for that maybe some other people do. But just to be
yeah,
clear on What is that? What are the expectations? I know culturally this is difficult for a lot of people in different cultures to just to even be able to broach these topics about maybe having a different idea for Thanksgiving, or one immediate family going off and doing something rogue, like going for a hike or going camping, like
Yeah.
that's just sacrilege. Like that can't happen in certain cultures. And I understand that. So it's definitely not like a preach. It's just an evaluation to say, are there areas in your life where you can manage the expectations, look at it. And to your point, 4 years ago, you could not have, you weren't there. You weren't there to
Nope.
say, and also you have a child who's younger. I mean, there's a lot that goes into that. Yeah. So I think that's an important evaluation, is the expectations that we put all around the holidays. So that is key. And then the other thing you said that I thought was awesome was about, we kind of touched on it, and a lot of the times we have these conversations, is what you're doing zapping the joy out of what it's designed to
Mhm.
do, so like,
Ah.
are you at the grocery store the night before Thanksgiving complaining about, just like being at the mall the night before Christmas, complaining about it? Or are you like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, I'm going to be able to pull off this dinner in, like, 3 hours, and this is how I'm gonna do it. All the turkeys are gone. Now I've got to do something else. All the this is gone. I've got to do something else. And by the way, we have something that's really amazing called the internet that is, in fact, it's been around. I don't know. It's new. It's new. I mean, come on. Like, you can go to AI and you could literally say, like, how can I make a Thanksgiving meal or whatever in 3 hours? How can I get, 20 people together easily, for over Thanksgiving? And AI will give you five different ideas and off you go. So that there's a way, I think, to, obviously, the planning and all that keeps the joy in it. But I will say, for Thanksgiving, something I developed years ago too, is I think a lot of the stress for my mom growing up was that she was alone doing Thanksgiving. But in our, like, explanation, like, that was also, like, that's what she wanted to do, she wanted to do the full massive turkey, the whole thing, and, like, all the stuffings, the everything. She was a very good cook, so it's like she just wanted to be able to do all that stuff. But when she was doing it, it was stressful because it's probably was overwhelmed, it's probably taking on too much. So I have kind of said in my Thanksgiving work that I know I'm gonna be doing the whole thing by myself. I'm not even deluded that anything else is gonna happen. I think that's kind of the trap, right? The greedy part is, why am I the only one? Why doesn't anyone help me? Greed, greed, greed. No. Grateful that I know how to do this. Grateful that I can, look up a different recipe this year. Grateful that I can decide I'm not going to make the Brussels sprouts because they take too long and I'm the only one here doing this. So whatever I make is whatever I make, right? Grateful, grateful, grateful. And that has given me so much peace, like so much peace, that I show up I go to Traders. I do a ton of my Thanksgiving shopping at Traders, which is makes my life really easy. So, and I normally, I shop everywhere. I'm an equal opportunity shopper, but for Thanksgiving, I find it really easy at Traders. So, but I've done that. Yeah. The week before, the weekend before, definitely by Monday, that's wrapped up. Right. And then I know I'm going to do it myself. So then I just start executing, to your point. Make a little thing here, make the cranberry sauce, make the stuffing, then make the mashed potatoes, whatever, whatever, whatever. So keeping the joy in it and then managing the expectations. And I think within that context too is just what I think you did this so beautifully with what you said, even about your Thanksgiving now, is just being responsible for the experience that you're going to have,
Mm.
because you have decided that that's what, you've already primed it, which is why I like to prime my Thanksgiving by doing my little pictures and feeling like accomplished before Thanksgiving gets there. I've already shopped, I've already done all these things, patting myself on the back, and then I know I've got a full 2 days of cooking all by myself, getting everything done, and all that stuff. But you need to manage, we all need to manage. I mean, it's not a lecture. It's just to say, like, again, I'm talking to myself, to manage your own experience
Mm.
in this. And then, like, fast forward. Okay, I'm going to tell you that my Christmas lights are up. They are up.
What?
I know
Seriously?
I know it's 2 months early,
Oh my
but
gosh.
let me tell you why. Hold on. I have a good reason, and even if I didn't, it's totally fine, right? Um, but I have a really sweet neighbor who had her, person helping her do her Christmas lights. And this is another thing. I don't complain that my husband never wants to put up Christmas lights. He's never going to put up Christmas lights. He hasn't since we've been married for 20 something years. Those Christmas lights are never going to be put up by someone named my husband. That's never, never, never happening. And guess what? The tree is not going to be done by him. The tree gets done by him, I shouldn't say, but the decorations aren't going to be done by, like, the tree decorations aren't going to be done by him. The extra stuff isn't going to be done by him. And that's no fault on him. That's managing what I want and how I want to create it. And, if I can enroll some friends in it or whatever. And if that's part of your relationship dynamics, you got to work that out separately, right? But fast forward to that. No, it's true, right? Because some people have other things that go on, but it's a lot of it is within your control. I think that's my larger point. Like, a lot of it can be just grateful. Grateful that I
Yeah.
have a tree. Grateful that I have, that I have these decorations. Grateful that I can afford to go to TJ Maxx and get a couple extra things. Grateful, grateful, grateful. Grateful that I have a home or, an apartment that I can do this in. I can express myself. Grateful, grateful, grateful. So, yeah, it's just in that piece because as we slide in, like after Thanksgiving, it's like a freaking snow-capped mountain that you're just like into Hanukkah and Christmas. It can be a lot. It can definitely be
Yeah.
a lot. So maybe you could speak to that too, because you have the whole Hanukkah thing and you're
Yeah.
balancing Hanukkah and Christmas and December and, those of us who are in business are doing year-end stuff. I mean, there's just a lot that comes at you.
It is. It's a lot. And sometimes I feel like, because Hanukkah moves around, I feel
Right.
like sometimes you like step out of Thanksgiving and you go right into Hanukkah and you're like, wait, I didn't even get a minute to put the turkey away. And then other
Totally.
times you have Hanukkah and it butts right up to Christmas and you're like, I didn't even get a break. Like I have everything out at once and it's a lot. And I think I know I put a lot more pressure on myself for both holidays to be great and perfect. And now I'm like, you know what? We'll do one big celebration night of like all the things for Hanukkah and then acknowledge it and do something little every night for the other nights that we're at home and together. Um, and uh and then Christmas continues to evolve, like I used to host it all and now I'm like, I don't need to host it all. And this is like that slow transition I'm making of like what makes sense. And also
Mhm.
realize that even though I thought I was doing it for my son, because that's what he wanted, when I asked him, he was like, doesn't really make a difference. Like when I asked him specific things. And I was like,
Oh, like
interesting.
your
So
traditions, like some of your
yeah,
little
like
things that you
yeah,
okay.
all the things like, all like I was like Christmas Eve, we would do like make the French traditional buckwheat crepes, the galettes. And so we would make those and I do all the toppings and like, I would bring in the special buckwheat from France, like to make the
Wow.
dialing the eggs, just like,
Of
and
course
then
you would.
Christmas
Of course
morning.
you would, Rachel, because that's what everybody
I
does.
know.
Of course you would.
Yeah, and then
Yeah,
I
me
would make
too.
homemade cinnamon rolls. So like, like all of these things that I thought like, oh, this is what it's supposed to be. And then on top of everything else of like, he wanted, we had a tradition of getting a fresh tree, which in Hawaii is a challenge, like, because they're shipped
Oh,
here, they're
right.
expensive, they
Oh
sell
my
out,
gosh.
like, you got to keep it
Yep.
alive. Like, it becomes this huge thing. And then it's like, okay, and then we sat down and talked about like what is it he wants? Like, and he was quickly like, I don't need that, don't need that, but I definitely want the tree. And I was like, interesting. And for him, it's the smell, the tradition, like all of that. And I was like, well, great, you can have that, and we can let go of making fresh cinnamon rolls at midnight so they're ready to go in the morning. And like, so I have to get
Exactly,
up,
right?
let them raise it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
now it's like a pick and choose of what traditions. And here's the thing. I am in a different situation. I have one child. So it's only one conversation I have to have. I imagine if you have 4 of these, Chris, your list is still just as long because everybody wants something
Yes.
different. So
Yes.
I can be grateful here that I have one, that the conversation is one, and then we figure out like what is important to me, what is important to him, like what traditions. And he's like, I absolutely want one big night to celebrate Hanukkah, and I want like either my friend or my girlfriend here, and I'm like, okay, it's these things that get clear on what is it we want, and can we meet those both can we meet those expectations while both still enjoying the holiday, right? So if I'm meeting
Right.
all of the
Now,
expectations and I'm not enjoying the holiday, it's not a success. So
yeah,
how do
no,
we
that's
do that?
exactly. That's right. Yes, that was my point about the joy. Right. It's not it's
Yeah.
if it's not joyful, that's a good metric right there. So what is it?
Well, the question is
And you
though,
could even do that in the moment. You can even do that
True.
as it's bubbling up for you and you're like, "Hey, this is, like, not working. Like, can we have a quick little convo about this?
Change. Yeah.
And can I see what I can take off or what I can move around?" Or you can evaluate that for yourself because, we're like you always say,
Yeah.
we're super powerful and we just have to, execute it. Execute on that power.
Yeah, and I think a lot of what we do on these holidays is based on what we did the previous year, and, like, we just keep doing it. It's
Or
like that funny
when the
thing
kids were
about,
5 and 6, and now the kids are 15 and 17 or 16, it's like, these are
yeah.
completely different people. Like, this is not we can't
Yeah,
be stuck, and I think Christmas gets that way too, you get stuck in that, like, "Oh,
totally.
it's so sweet, and it's for kids," and then you forget that, your kids grow up, they still enjoy Christmas. My kids still very much enjoy Christmas. It's not just because they're older that now they don't wanna celebrate, so you're kind of in this
Yeah,
balance, right? You don't wanna deny them of the joy by you
no.
just being like, "Oh," projecting on them, like, "Oh, you must be done with Christmas, right?" Wink, wink. No.
No, yeah,
No, they're actually not at
no.
all, and that's, a testament to you for making it so awesome for so many years that now they think it's one of the best holidays ever, ever in the history of the
Yeah,
world, so it's like that part is people have religious things that they do. I mean, with Hanukkah, obviously, there's a lot of layers there too, so there's a lot of,
yeah.
in fact, traditions that go back thousands of years, right? So, like I said, culturally, there's a lot embroiled in here too, but nonetheless,
Well, and
all that can be
And
managed.
I would yeah, and I would challenge you or challenge people to take a look at this, and I've done this too. I think there's a story about like why we do things in the kitchen, and this woman's like, "Well, when I do the potatoes, I cut off the ends, then I peel them." And they're like, "Why do you cut off the ends?" "Well, because my mom did." Well, then you ask the mom, and the mom's like, "Why do you cut off the ends?" "Because my mom did." So her grandmother did. And then come to find out, she just bought the cheap potatoes that were always bad at the end, so that's why she cut the ends off. But we were all cutting off the ends, right? And so the question is,
Yeah,
like, what
this
is
is
the
so good.
tradition and why is it there? And some of them like are, like based on religious or, those types of traditions. And if they're still meaningful, go for it. But if they're ones you're like, I don't have bad potatoes, I don't need to cut off the ends anymore. That doesn't apply here anymore. Then you know what? Stop doing that. And that's kind of the mindset I have for myself walking into this holiday season. More so because I'm ready for it. Like, I want this now. I wanna be awake, aware, and intentional about my holidays, and it doesn't mean I wanna take it away, like, have it be serious or not have the fun and the silliness, like, I mean, there will be plenty of silliness and fun because that is a part of my formula. Like, it has
Right,
to be in
totally.
there, um, and I want it to be, like, still a joyful time for my son, and a playful time, but doing it out of the sake of tradition because that's what was done the previous year is definitely where my brain is at, and
Yeah, or I'm thinking about
investigating.
the tree that, you're finally get it in, to your point, you have a live tree. I had the live tree for the first time last year that I've never had a live tree since I've been married, right? We haven't had a live tree
Wow.
ever. So the kids are like, "What is this smell?" Right? What is this thing? They loved it. They loved it. They were totally into
Yeah.
it. I have put one outside, but even to get to the point and then you get that live tree and you put it in, you're so excited. That takes a day right there, right? And then you have the
Yeah.
tree, and then there's so many ways. It's like, well, that tree can get decorated, but you know what else? Like if it doesn't, it doesn't. Like there, I just think there are so many things that we're just so like, it needs to be like this, and if you want to put the lights on it, call your friend and put the lights on it. Okay, the next day, then maybe you can put three. This is kind of our like one drawer at a time, right? The next day you can put
Right.
on 3 or 4 bulbs. You can go to freaking Michael's and buy something and throw something on. Like whatever. It does not
Yeah.
have to be. And this has been a let go for me because I have even decorations for our tree that we've had from when I travel or from when, the kids were little, like things that they've made,
Yes.
et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, oh, these all need to be on the tree. And last year we just did an aesthetic tree. And my daughters were like, hey, can we just do an aesthetic tree this year? I was like, yeah, sure. Aesthetic tree. So that just means like it's very curated, right? It's not like
Yeah.
hodgepodgey. There's no like fingerprint, handprint from when you're 5. Like none of that stuff's on there. Handmade bows and, garland and stuff like that, right? So we just did that and it was beautiful because it was the expression that my kids wanted in that year, right? And then my son comes home and he's like, "Where's
Mhm.
all the crap? Where's all the crappy tree? Where's Christmas?" Basically.
Yeah,
So
so
this year I'm like,
funny.
okay, maybe I'm gonna need two trees, like the actual aesthetic tree and then the actual family tree that we've had,
Yeah.
for so many years. But just like being flexible and just being again grateful that it happens at all. Grateful that I exist
Yeah,
in a country that I
true.
can have these celebrations, that I have a home that I could put this tree in, that I have children around that actually want to come home and be around me for the holidays. Like all those little moments of grateful, 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 grateful,
Mhm.
and just pulling away from the greed of, "Oh, I need to have,
Yeah.
like, all these decorations, like, how am I gonna have an aesthetic tree if that means I can't put all these decorations," and you're all constricted, right? Because that means you can't do this, like, options and choices are being slashed right and left. Well, no, it's just an opening for something different, it's just a different
Yeah.
way to look at it. It's a different expression.
Yeah. And I hear you, but that part about the tree and the aesthetic tree and like the one that's based on memories. I mean, that's where all of our ornaments are like from him, like making them and traveling together, and we date him, and we always get an ornament when we do a trip together. And it's just like memories. And that is one of the things that I don't want to give up. And we do together. And we spend an afternoon and we go through them. We laugh about some of them, and we're like, "What was that from? You remember that was from?" And that is like, and we just came back from New Zealand together, and I have a ornament from there, and that's gonna go on the tree, and it's now another memory. And so those things that have the tradition that, like, kinda just makes you feel connected in a different way and able to celebrate all the times together, that's beautiful. Whether it's doing the tree or going to JCPenney's and getting your photos done, like those amazing things that, like, don't lose those, like, fight for
Well,
those.
even
That's the
though,
other thing.
but
It's not the question of like, um, like, oh, they don't want to do the picture this year. It's like you fight for that because it's important to you, and you know that this is gonna be a piece. And like for,
yes.
like he'll be like, I'm too busy. I have to go to wrestling. I was like, we're gonna block this time out. I don't care. Like you can make this happen. And that's where it's like, we're gonna make it happen. We're gonna
Yeah,
make it.
that's a layered conversation too. I feel like that's probably one to even push off like in its own whole thing because that is a process of letting go too. Because just because you want it doesn't mean it's right for everybody.
Good point, Chris. Like, it doesn't mean it's right for everyone. So what happens when your kids say, "I don't wanna do this anymore," or family pushes back and they're over this tradition that you've created with them? Like, how do you approach that within the grateful, not greedy, like, framework?
Are you planning for the attack? Because the thing is we have teenagers, so it's not like they're
We
not gonna tell
do.
you, "Hey, mom," maybe they will. Maybe they'll be like, "Mom, let's sit down. Let's have this conversation. I would like to tell you how I feel about your tradition." No, they're just gonna be obstinate, and they're gonna give you the cold shoulder, and they're gonna,
Stop it.
stonewall you. It's gonna be terrible, and you're gonna be, like, crying and feeling terrible and not understanding why anyone doesn't respect your tradition, right? I feel like that's what's coming. So, yeah, I think it's important to just for me, I mean, just speaking because I like you have mentioned many times, I have a lot of opportunity for, awesomeness, and I have a lot of opportunity for disappointment just because I have a lot of kids, right? So it's like I have the whole thing that I'm constantly doing. So and I'm thinking about some traditions, honestly, Rach, I'm ready to drop. Like, I'm ready to drop, and the kids are like, "No, like, what are you talking about? Like, we need to do it like this, and we still have this," and, so right? Like, I'm ready to drop those, but I guess I'm the adult, so I need to be, like, kind of okay with, continuing on until at some point I'll have to put my I guess that's the other point. Who wants to stop these? But I think it's really important just to own your own stuff, right? So it's like, you want this, you want this, you want this. Okay, is it is everyone enjoying again, where's the joy? Where's the joy?
Right.
Like, is everybody enjoying this as the process? Is everybody and not that you have to please everybody, no, but it's like but you understand the point. Like,
Mhm.
is the general consensus that this is a joyful event or joyful thing that we get to do, with each other? And my thing always is even coming into holidays and we know we celebrate Christmas, so there's just a lot of wrapping, there's a lot of decorations, there's a lot of parties, there's a lot of brunches, there's a lot of holiday
Yeah.
things, there's a lot of, you need a gift for every little everything, all the teachers. I mean, it's just like blows up, right? So just even in that, evaluating how much time do I want to spend wrapping gifts, running after teacher gifts. I don't, God bless the room moms. God bless them. God bless them. Like, I am not a room mom. I will never be a room mom. I have enough momming in my life. But I am so appreciative when they're like, hey, can you get a gift card from Target? Yes. I could totally do that. Can you do this and do that? Because it's like what is the I wanna be able to support, people. I wanna be able to do that. I wanna be able to do the traditions for my kids, but how much is that taking away from the limited amount of time? We're still only 24 hours in a day, even in the holidays. They don't give us 36. It's not like we get a
Right.
bonus, and they're like, "Oh, it's the holidays. We'll give you 36 hours a day. It'll make it so much easier." No, it doesn't happen. So you just have twice as much. So I think even like, paying attention really and kind of like letting things go where they might. And you bring up a good point even about thinking about my holiday picture. Like, I'm not ready to let that go. And again, God bless my children for being good sports and showing up every time and, like making it fun and making it funny and all that stuff. But if they really were like, Mom, we're done with this, I would just have to be like, okay, let me figure out another way that I can satisfy my need to
Oh,
chronologize, their lives and my life
sure.
and also make it joyful for them. So I don't really know the answer. I think you have to be flexible. Always
Well,
be
and
flexible
you just said this. Well, two things. One, flexible. And two, you have the conversation with the kids and the conversation with yourself, right? Because it's
with
both
yourself.
sides of it.
Yeah, I think it's
Because
right. Yeah.
it's like, and I mean, for me, I think I would look at it and be like, okay, can we do it one more year? And let's see what
Mhm.
happens when we do it one more year. Is
That's a good
everyone like
point.
begrudgingly there, or
Yeah.
do they once they're in it, they're enjoying it? Like part of that is that. So I would try to do it one more year if it wasn't like moving a mountain to make it
Yeah.
happen. I would try and then evaluate it after, because if they push back in the moment of it, it's hard. Like you don't have any preparation to let go and to be like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to put this to bed. And then I would approach that one like, this might be the last one. So like maybe we do something to cap it off. Maybe we just like say like, okay,
Yes.
this is our last one. Like, what do we want to do?
Yes.
And like just do
Yeah.
something so you have closure and you can do that and make it clear. But like, I understand that this is not what everybody wants to do anymore. We're gonna do one more year. Let's like cap it off, acknowledge the years we've done this, and like this will be like a
A
little,
send off.
yeah, send off and like a section of time. We're demarcation point of moving to the
Yeah.
next.
And
And
I
I
think what
think
you bring up too, it's like what we're not acknowledging even in this short part of this conversation is the opening that we've now created by closing that tradition book. That tradition is
mm,
closed. Guess what? Now we can be grateful that there's all this space open for a new tradition, a random
mhm,
event that we only do this year, like a way that we
yeah,
can spend time together because we don't have to be dedicating all that time, to that other tradition that we were
yeah,
doing, whatever it is, right? So I think we've talked about that many times. And I think you're really good about this, about just letting things flow through and what works, works. And maybe it works that year, maybe it doesn't. And, just kind of like being able to keep the rhythm while also
mm,
being respectful of the traditions. But yeah, it's like now you have this clean opening. And
yeah,
we have this great thing called the internet. We have TikTok. We have, we can look it up and be like, hey, what are some cool traditions? And we could start with kids who are older or kids who are, even if your
right,
little babies are like turning from 5 to 8, they might not need the same things. They might not,
yeah,
want the
yeah.
same stuff. So yeah, I mean,
It's a
yeah,
good
like
point.
actually very positive.
Well, and to emphasize that point, like the only way we can bring a new tradition in is if we have space for it. And you're
Yeah,
taking something that is aged and done, like it's lived its life, it's lived the breath of the that experience, and now you have
yeah,
the opportunity to have space for it. And we've talked about this too a lot on this podcast about you have to let go of something to allow something new to come in, and that's
yeah.
the grateful not greedy. And you also have like 20, 19 years of these pictures
That's
that you get to go
right.
back and
That's
you
right.
have that. No one's taking that away from you. Like you have
Right.
those memories, you have the actual tangible pictures, which is beautiful. So you have all those things to be grateful about. And then not greedy that, like, oh, it's finally having to let it go. And then you have now the space to put something new in. And I think that's true with a lot of our traditions that we do. Like, are they still bringing us joy? Are we still sparkling? Like, are people still sparkling through this? Or are we dimming people's
Are they
lives?
losing their shimmer? Yes.
Yeah, are they losing their shimmer and shine? And then, like, and that's where we have a moment to look at our holidays and be like, "What are we doing and why are we doing it?" And
Yes.
then,
Yeah.
not because everything has to change, but just to do like an assessment, to take a moment and look around because we get in there and it's a swirl. And I
Oh,
think the
yeah, no, you're
holidays,
like, "It's December 10th, this has to be done. It's December 12th,
yes.
this has to be done. It's the whatever, I
Yeah.
do the 12 days of Christmas, this has to be done." Yeah, yeah, you make such a good point because it's also your point about appreciating all the memories and all the time, and by the way, that's the past. That already happened.
Mm.
It's nothing you can the only thing
Yeah,
you can change about it now is your perspective. So, yeah,
exactly.
like, it's really cool actually just to say, "I made it to here. I made it this far. I got 20 good years of this tradition or 10 or 2 or
Yeah.
whatever it is, and that was awesome. That was just
Yeah.
great."
And so now, Chris, as we step into this period, we know this is the time, if I would say, grateful, not greedy, if it's like, our scales, this is the time when the greed has
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot of potential to
outpaces
overtake.
the
This
grateful,
is
like,
like,
by 100
unfortunately,
times.
yeah.
Yeah,
And it's ironic. It's the holidays. We should be surrounding ourselves with just gratefulness, but the greed really pops in. So how do we as individuals keep
right.
that in check during
Yeah.
this like swirl of a time in front of
It's
us?
such a good point, Rach. It's such a good point because I would address that by saying my antidote to that is to pay attention. Pay
Um,
attention. Focus on my joy. Is this joyful? Am I enjoying this? And not that, all life doesn't have to be one big, party. We totally understand that. But is this whatever this is designed to do? Is it doing what it's doing? Because I feel like we talk so much about pain driving growth or like things that you don't want to have done or whatever aren't the way that you want drive growth. Well, this is another way to drive growth, but it doesn't even have to be painful. It can just drive
mm,
the growth by you being aware and in the game of, I'm going to watch for the greed. The greed is, I don't like it like this. I didn't want these flowers. I didn't want to go to that party. I don't want to get
mhm,
that thing from the kids' teacher. I want to get it in this. I don't, like and on and on and on and on and on and on and on. My in-laws this, my my mother-in-law that, like
yeah.
on and on, right? So, yeah, I think it's just paying attention to how many times you're pushing against it and you're
Mm,
trying to fit the square peg in the round hole rather than just saying, "Hey, you know what I could do? I could just actually make this hole bigger." And then the square peg would totally fit in there. Like, I don't have to have this really constricted small hole. I can actually just widen that, and then, hey, look what happens. That square peg just fits swimmingly, not even a problem. So, yeah, I think paying atten for me, after having this
intention.
conversation, it's actually been very impactful. I really appreciate this conversation, um, because I can really just focus on being joyful, thinking about, where the greed is and just watching for it, like watching, 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 and being super flexible. And, there's no guarantees, Rach. There's no
No.
guarantees, and you and I are both sitting in situations where, we've lost parents, we've lost people who are close to us. And, you always have to remember if this is my last Christmas to celebrate, if this is my last Hanukkah, if this is my last da da da, and not to go like, oh, all dire on everyone, but truthfully in the moment to recognize that there is no guarantee. So what, the best day ever, the best Christmas ever, the best, Hanukkah ever, the best
Yeah.
Kwanzaa ever, the best, anything that you're
Right.
celebrating, Diwali, best, 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 right? So that you can just remain focused on what the real prize is, which is your peace and joy. Yeah.
It's true. It's true. It's a really great way to look at it is do the assessment. For me right now, because we're just stepping into it, we're on the cusp, I feel like, of it right now. I am doing an assessment before I get there. Like I'm
Yeah.
like
Great.
doing my inventory right now for me. And I'm finding that that has been helpful of rearranging things a little bit and like asking the questions, especially checking in with my son and being like, hey, like, do you still want this? Like, is this important to
Yeah.
you? Like, what is this like, how do you want this to roll? I don't know. I haven't asked him the question. If I just make the assumption he still wants the same thing at 16 that he did at 10, it's probably not true in every scenario. And so I'm having those conversations now. And then I'm also saying things that I'm like, I'm not willing to do that again. Whatever X thing. Like I was like, that did
Yes.
not work for me. Can we like what do we want to swap that with? Are you like, how does that work for you? Checking with the people that also celebrate with me, my family, my friends, those types of things of like, what is it I want? And I'm trying to do that work now
Yeah.
to kind of set the table as best I can to avoid getting in the swirl and leaning more, getting into that less grateful area.
Yeah, I love that too. Like I think that's great advice. So it's between okay, so my big takeaways, I mean, from this are
Hmm.
so many. But I really think even what you just said, like, staying ahead of it, having the conversations if there are conversations to be had, doing a little quick inventory when we know what our traditions are. We know like and
Yeah,
making your
of
calendar
course.
now, like getting ahead, even just putting through the calendar so that when someone's like, "Hey, can you do this thing or can you do that thing?" you can say
Hmm.
no. You can say no,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
evaluating, wherever all those it's even like your family wants to come in town or, this person all of a sudden is popping in and you've got to accommodate that, but you don't have to. You could accommodate it the way that you're able to accommodate it while still being, pleasant and, demure and all that stuff. Like it'll all
Yeah.
work out. So yeah, I think in just being flexible with the traditions, also understanding that just because I want it doesn't mean it's good for the gander, right? It might
Yeah.
not be good. This goose is just one little goose, and there might be plenty of others who are not into it, and that just gives me one more opportunity, I think, to practice being in flow, to practice just being chill with it, to practice being grateful. Like, great, I'm not going
Hmm.
to be greedy about that. I'm going to be grateful and move. Like flow to the next thing, flow to the next thing, flow, flow, flow. I'm gonna love
Yeah.
my kids. I'm gonna have a great, holiday. I'm gonna keep the focus on joy and peace. And like that's my big takeaway from the whole thing,
Yeah.
from this whole conversation, really.
Yeah, it has been helpful to me because I have been slowly doing this assessment, but now I'm actually going to do the assessment with awareness of like the whole holidays, like all the way through to years. Like, what do I need to look at them? What do I need to have the best possible outcome where no one like where we reduce the stress as much as
Yeah.
possible, where I reduce it for myself and for all the people around me and have it be something that I truly want too, right?
Yes,
That
right,
that it's not
exactly.
everybody else's holiday, but it's also mine. So thanks. Thanks for your Halloween in a box.
Halloween in a box. J.C. Penney's does the most ridiculous pictures you can get. No, they're actually they're good, but
Yes.
like there are lots of ways to approach approach these
Yeah, I love
holidays.
it.
Halloween in a box,
Thank
by the
you.
way, used to have Christmas in a box, but I just
No.
that was before kids, and then it just it doesn't actually flow. Now it's like Christmas in like about 14 boxes and 2 3 bags, and I don't even know
I
what.
know.
I really don't even know, but I enjoy it every time, and even that. Just in closing, I will say, I don't get out all of my decorations. I get out like a couple boxes and I'm like, cool, that's enough. Like, and then the next year I might find a different box because I put them away differently. Like, it's so funny for someone, like, if you're kind of like a little bit type A, right? But then you notice these other parts of your life where you're like so chill. You're like, why can't I just like pull in some of that other that chill
Yeah,
and like
that's a
put it
good
over
one.
here, right? It's like
Right.
it's just all this balance in your personality. So yeah, this has
Mhm.
been awesome. I am too. I'm going to do my assessment. I'm going to be proactive about it and just on it for peace and joy, peace and joy, peace and joy. I'm going to be on it
Mhm.
for that for sure during this holiday season. So thank you, Rach. This has been great. This has been, is, and forever will be the Grateful Not Greedy podcast. Thanks for joining us and aloha, Rach.
Aloha, Chris.